Welcome to the Kiosk Presents. Joining me today is Dr. Ruchi Gupta, pediatrician and allergy expert at the Children's Hospital of Chicago. Thank you so much for joining me today here on the Kiosk Presents.
Happy to be here.
All right, now, what can you tell me about allergies and anaphylaxis?
Yes, so food allergies are on the rise. 1 in 13 kids in the United States have a food allergy. Now, food allergies can present with different kinds of reactions. Now, the reactions can be very serious, even life-threatening, and this is what we call anaphylaxis. And if a child were to have an anaphylactic reaction, the only first-line treatment we have is epinephrine. So with so many kids, having food allergies and going back to school and spending most of their day in schools, it's important that schools are prepared to deal with anaphylaxis. And Mylan right now is sponsoring a program for the second year, epi-pen for schools, where they're offering 4 free epi-pen auto-injectors to qualifying schools. Schools can get more information at epi-penforschools.com.
Okay, so epinephrine is just the full name for an EpiPen.
Yes, epinephrine auto-injector is what an EpiPen is. Absolutely.
Okay, because most people know it just as an EpiPen. They don't necessarily have the full lingo down. So just keep that down. Now, how available are these pens normally at schools?
So many states are passing legislation which encourages schools to have these EpiPens in the schools. Through this program, over 20,000 schools have gotten EpiPens in all 50 states. And here in Chicago, we've had this program for a year with all our schools having these EpiPen auto-injectors in the schools. And, in this past year, we've used over 20 of these devices in anaphylactic emergencies.
Okay. Now, you don't always know when your kids have a serious issue until they're exposed to it. But is there any recommendations you can give for parents to be better prepared for both the kids that know which allergies they have that they react poorly to and those that don't yet know which allergies they have?
Right, yes. So for parents of kids who have a known food allergy, going back to school, it's really important that they visit their doctor and actually sit down and make an anaphylaxis action plan. And this plan, first and foremost, they need to know how to avoid the triggers, how to avoid the foods that their child is allergic to. Then, in case of an emergency, they need to know how to recognize signs and symptoms. And they should always carry 2 of these EpiPen auto-injectors with them at all times and make sure they're not expired. They need to educate anyone taking care of that child, caretakers, teachers, anyone who's going to be managing that child on all of these, avoiding first and foremost, and then if an accidental ingestion were to occur, what to do.
Well, why 2?
Great question. So, we've seen that oftentimes a child can have an anaphylactic episode and require their EpiPen auto-injector, but they can continue to have the episode or fall back and then get back into it, have a reoccurrence. And so it's always very important to have at least 2 with you at all times.
Okay, because the one might not be enough in an emergency situation.
Or it can come back and they may need another one pretty quickly.
And they won't have time to restock. Yes, that makes a whole lot of sense. What about parents who have not yet, who don't currently know if their kids have any allergies? What is your suggestion for them?
I know, it is. It's really scary for all parents with, so many kids having food allergies these days. The most important thing they can do is watch what their kids eat. As they introduce new foods, observe them for any kind of a reaction. Oftentimes the reactions start out with skin symptoms like hives, itching, swelling, but they can rapidly progress into, breathing or feeling faint, drop in blood pressure, vomiting. So they just need to be very aware as they introduce new foods to their kids of what's happening.
Okay, that's very good information. Now, do you have any other advice for kids and parents or even teachers going into the school year?
Yeah, I think schools these days need to be very proactive. I think it would be great if schools go to the website, epi-penforschools.com. If they qualify, get your EpiPen auto-injectors and then have a plan in place. Schools need to have a plan in place. They need to teach and educate all, their staff, the nurses, the teachers on how to recognize an anaphylactic reaction and what to do in case of an emergency, and how to avoid those triggers in their classrooms. So, schools, teachers, parents, all of us working together, educating, preparing, we can start the school year off right.
Yeah, that would definitely be a very worthwhile staff development day, teaching them how to keep all the kids in the school safer. Thank you so much, Dr. Gupta, for joining us today here on the Kiosk Presents and letting us know how to keep our kids safe, our siblings safe, whatever the situation and whatever the relation, how to keep everyone in the community throughout Western New York safe. So once again, thank you for joining us here.
Thank you so much for having me.